I want to share with you a very different way of looking at starting a business, because I personally feel that the way that it's looked at in colleges, online courses, and even here on YouTube is grossly overcomplicated. And it's very inefficient. Because what if starting an online business was a rather straightforward step-by-step process and procedure that you could follow, rather than overcomplicated with no clear directions? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to give you today. A 6-step process that you can execute this week to start your business. No need to read long books, go through years of college, or spend hundreds of hours developing a product that you don't even know people will buy or not. Instead, just follow these 6 steps. 20-something-year-olds are getting paid thousands of dollars a month to do this. And I know this sounds super hypey and over-exaggerated, but I'm a 22-year-old myself, and I can assure you this is possible. Because I followed this exact same 6-step action plan, and I helped thousands of other people do it too. And if you can send a few messages on Instagram and jump on a few Zoom meetings, you can do it as well. After you finish this video, you'll have everything you need to already start making $500 to $2,000 a month online with your business. So if you feel like you're tired of wasting time, now is the time to get out of your rut and change that. So let's get into it. You're generating leads or you're generating discernible ROI for your clients. Instead, I used to have a creative agency and I was making at the age of 17, 15 grand a month.
At the end of the day, the real power in business is subtraction, not addition.
As we saw in the first video of the remote revolution, starting an agency is the best online business for beginners. Because number one, it doesn't require you to invest any upfront money. It doesn't require you to have any previous experience. You can get the service delivery done for you by someone else. And I'll show you exactly how today. And it's the fastest way to go from 0 to 2, 5, even $10,000 a month in a matter of weeks. And now I'm going to give you the 6-step action plan for achieving all of this with your agency. Now, what you're about to see has never before been released to the public. It's literally the exact same system that I teach my students inside of my flagship program, Agency Navigator. This is the same system that our student Jeff used to sign 3 clients in literally the same day, profiting $7,500 in just a matter of 24 hours. Now, of course, I'm not going to cover everything in the same level of detail because for each one of these phases, I have hours of training inside of Agency Navigator, along with custom built tools, plug and plays, resources, and basically everything you need to make it as much of a handheld process as possible. But I will be giving you guys the same essence of all of that and really sort of the abridged version in today's episode of the remote revolution. I mean, literally, if you log into a custom platform me and my team built, you're going to see these exact same phases. And here they are. Phase number 1, foundation. Understanding what's your job as an agency, choosing your service and niche. And I'll give you a list of the most profitable niches as well as highest paying services. Phase number 2, mindset. Really what it takes to win. And this one is the step that people overlook the most. And it's the one that will never stop you from achieving anything you want in life in case you don't get it sorted. Step number 3, learning how to find clients and how to tell the good ones from the bad ones. Phase 4, prospecting. Here I'll tell you exactly what to say when reaching out to potential clients. Then I'll give you a step-by-step breakdown on what it takes to sign your first client. And make sure you stick around for this one to understand how exactly in the next 40 hours you're going to sign your first client, guaranteed. Phase 5 is sales, and here's where you learn how to turn simple conversations into dollars in your bank account over and over. Phase 6 is service delivery. Here you'll learn how to get the service done for you by someone else through a hack I call contractor arbitrage, or how to take advantage of a skill you already have. So let's get into it. Now, your job as an agency owner is finding a problem big enough that paying top dollar to get it solved is a no-brainer. Basically, what you're doing is getting paid to fix problems for businesses. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is a problem big enough that a business would pay you to fix it? I mean, there are countless ones, and each niche and industry has its own peculiarities, but there's one big problem shared by pretty much every single business out there, and that's getting more leads or customers. If you can get a business more leads, they will pay you generously. So now the question becomes, well, how can I help businesses sell more? And again, you can do that in a variety of ways. You can help them design better product pages. You can help them shoot better content. You can help them take better product pictures. You can help them run better ads. You can help them write better emails. You can help them position better on Google searches, which leads to getting more calls, etc., etc. What I usually recommend for people to do is leverage a skill that they already have. Like for example, photography or video editing in order to help a business get more sales. For example, as a video editor, you can just edit regular videos and that doesn't bring too much value to your client. Or instead, you can find businesses that actually run ads and edit their video ads because that actually brings in a clear-cut return on investment for them. And you will be able to charge a lot more. I'm talking like 5, 10, 15, 30 times multiples for the exact same amount of work. Another example is if you're good at writing, you could for sure, write blog posts for people, but that doesn't have a very clear-cut monetary ROI. Or instead, you can find e-commerce businesses that already have an email list of subscribers or customers, and usually that is their number one form of repeat purchases, and you can write emails for them. Therefore, this becomes an extremely valuable activity for such a business. There are a lot of very simple and easy to learn high leverage skills that can get you to $10,000 a month with your agency. Now, I want you to keep in mind that the easier it is to attribute a monetary return on investment to your service, the more that you can charge for that service. And by the way, the funny thing is you could be doing the exact same thing. It's just the way that you frame the offer and frame the service you're delivering that could mean that you're charging 10, 20 times more. So really the main thing is at the end of the month, the client needs to be thinking, okay, well, they charge me this much and I can see this amount of return either in clear-cut sales or from the value of the leads. And that is why clients pay you, is because the way that you are charging them is a reasonable percentage of what you're bringing them back in. I mean, it's pretty realistic. As I said previously, this isn't the sexiest or flashiest business model. It's practical. But let me tell you guys a lesson in life. In your career and income, you want it to be practical. And then you want your personal life to be sexy. A practical career is the thing that lets you buy the supercar you've always wanted. It's the thing that lets you buy a $400,000 watch, even though actually this is a very good investment. It's the thing that lets you live in the places you want. It's the thing that lets you retire your mom, whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, look, if you told me at the age of 9 that, the thing that changed your life, allowed you to retire your mom, allowed you to make millions to then invest and multiply your wealth, would be an advertising agency, and see, I would have been like, that's not very exciting. But then at the age of 9, if you showed me the life that I'm living now, I genuinely would have thought that I'd become a footballer or a superstar or something like that. Because as I said, in your business, be practical. In your personal life, live like a rock star. This is what these businesses are for. So anyways, with that little rant over, let's get back to it. This is why I always recommend choosing services that you can attribute an ROI back to them. Here's the list of my favorite ROI services so far. We've got paid advertising, so that's Facebook, Google ads, YouTube ads, and this is the easiest one to attribute results to. We have content creation. Now I like to use this one specifically for ads or sales videos where that specific piece of content is responsible for bringing sales. We have conversion rate optimization, and this is basically a fancy name for saying taking an e-commerce product page and redesigning it in a way that gets more people to buy their product. And it's way easier than designing a complete new website from scratch. We have email marketing, and this is basically writing daily/weekly emails. And you'd be astonished if you saw the amount of revenue that emails can bring to e-commerce stores. Plus, majority of stores have big email lists and they spend a lot of money to actually get those leads. So for them, it's kind of like free marketing since it doesn't cost anything to send an email to their already existing contacts. So it's pretty much pure bottom line profit for them. Then we have social media management. Now the secret with this one is to focus on getting people to contact your clients in the DMs and then selling them there. This way you can attribute a direct financial reward to this activity. Now, if you were to choose one out of all of them to start off with, which one would that be? My personal recommendation is that you do paid ads. First, because it's really the only service that in order to get better results to your clients, you don't actually need to do more work. In all the other services, you'd have to write more emails, create more content, send more messages. In this one, all you got to do to scale the results is to change the budget of your campaigns from $100 a day to $200 a day. That literally requires one click, and the amount of work associated with managing $100 a day in spend compared to $200 a day in spend isn't very much. The second reason is that it's actually a pretty straightforward skill in order to learn yourself, or even better, get it done for you by someone else using something called contractor arbitrage, which I call the 8th wonder of the world. And you'll learn exactly how to take advantage of this in step 6. So make sure you stick around for that. Now, the last thing you have to do here is decide on your niche. Now, when deciding on your niche, there's 2 factors that I recommend you look at. Number 1, choose a niche that you're knowledgeable about. This will make it 10 times easier to build trust when talking to potential clients. And if you're not knowledgeable about any specific niche or industry, choose something you're passionate about so that way you're excited to learn more about it. Number 2, choose a niche where you can easily identify big authority figures that teach niche business models. For example, for dentists, the authority figure would be people that teach how to make more money as a dentist. For e-commerce stores, the authority figure would be people who teach how to actually scale e-commerce stores, how to run paid ads for e-commerce, and how to improve conversion rates. Now, you'll understand why this is important when we get to the prospecting phase, but having an authority figure for your niche will help a lot. Pro tip, a lot of people get stuck here thinking that, once they decide on a niche, that's it, they're married for life. Look, a lot of people actually end up chopping and changing their niches. I know in the space of my 6 years of running an agency, I've changed niches a couple times and actually then changed back to niches, depending on where my interest was at the time, market conditions, etc., etc. So if you're really stuck, pick 3 niches and just see which one you like the best when you start prospecting. By the way, talking about getting stuck, that leads us directly into phase 2. Listen, in the past, I've given the exact same action plan to thousands of people. Some went on to make thousands, some tens of thousands, some hundreds of thousands, and even many people went on to make millions with it. At the same time, there was a group of people that made absolutely zero, made not a single dime with it. And the difference between the people who went on to make hundreds of thousands of dollars with it to the people that didn't even make a dime was that they weren't afraid to execute. They weren't afraid of taking wrong decisions because they knew that just one right decision would override any of the bad decisions that they ever made. So they just went ahead and executed. While the people who never achieved anything with this plan, they got stuck. They got stuck on choosing their niche, their service, or on one of the following steps of the plan. Point is, they never pulled the trigger. They were overthinking it, too afraid to take action. The ones that fail with this plan are the ones that don't execute. I mean, mindset is pretty much all that we've been talking about up until this point. Learning how to match market timing with career timing, learning how to overcome the fear of making decisions, how to become a master of your own fate. This is all mindset. And inside of Agency Navigator, we have one of the best mindset trainings you could ever find online. And that's actually where my viral monk mode routine comes from. Now, going through everything in that behemoth phase 2 mindset inside of Agency Navigator will be too much for the scope of this video. But the things that I've included in video 1 as well as this video is enough from a mindset perspective to really get you off the ground and get you started. So now all you have to do is answer the question. Are you going to be one of those who fall through the cracks, or are you going to be a master of your own fate? This decision has to be taken now. Once you do it, you have what it takes to get to the next phase. Now, phase number 3 is learning how to find clients and how to decipher the good ones from the bad ones. Here's where most people mess up with this business model. They just get straight into it. They just cold call, cold email, send Loom, send Instagram messages, etc., without actually ever looking at the quality of the prospects they're reaching out to. You know what the number one factor of success is when doing outreach? Most people think it's the script, the words they use. And that does matter a lot. If you have a weak message, no one is going to respond to it. However, that only accounts for 20% of your success when reaching out to prospects. The other 80% is who you choose to contact in the first place. Most people try to reach out to clients through cold email with an email list they scrape from some sketchy website. Then their response rate is terrible and they think it's because of what they're saying in their message. Well, it's not. What you have to do instead is find out where your ideal prospects are hanging out and then go there to talk to them. And by the way, I don't mean this physically. Let's say, for example, you're trying to sell your service to e-commerce brands. You know the best place to find them? Well, let's actually do it together. Open your Instagram and search for an influencer that teaches e-commerce. Let's say Ezra Firestone. Then you go on his follower list and start opening the profiles in there. Then just read their bios. You'll find a bunch of e-commerce brand owners. Then all you have to do is list them all and contact them, which I'll show you exactly how to do on the next step. You can also do the same on Twitter by searching on the followers list of Shopify, for example. You'll find tons and tons of brand owners there, and Facebook groups also works well for this. Work on compiling a solid list of contacts, and that will make your life 10 times easier. That is the third step that you have to take. Now, phase 4 is prospecting, and I'll show you exactly what to say to clients when you reach out. Then I'll give you a step-by-step breakdown on how to actually sign your first client and why it only takes 40 hours in order to accomplish that. So once you finish phase 3 and you've compiled a good list, now you have to message them. And here's the $1 million framework in order to set meetings with these prospects. The framework is composed of 5 parts. First, you say hi and introduce yourself. Second, you give context and express a common value that unites you and them. Then, use the common value to pivot to an opportunity point. Then, you take the pressure off of them. Then, you show them that you can help by actually helping them. And finally, you invite them to a meeting. Let me break it down and what that would look like in practice, using an example of selling Facebook ads to an e-commerce brand. Step 1, say hi. So for example, hey Chris, how you doing? Step 2, give context and express a common value. I stumbled across your profile while reading one of Ezra Firestone's posts on Instagram and noticed that you like that same post. Love the guy. He has some solid plugins for increasing conversion rates on Shopify stores. This is important because whenever someone receives a message from someone they don't know, the first question they ask themselves is, how did this person find me? Step number 3, pivot to an opportunity point. Anyways, I was taking a look at your profile and noticed that you have a brand that sells online, but I wasn't able to find any active ads running for your store. Now this answers their next obvious question, which is, why is this person contacting me? Step number 4, take the pressure off of them. Not sure if that's something you're currently working on or just haven't had the time yet. Now you never want to point out a problem in their business without acknowledging the fact that it's not their fault that such a problem is happening. Otherwise, you're basically just going to come across as an a-hole. Step number 5, show that you can help them by actually helping them. For example, you could say something like, but I'm sure a few ads would help you increase your sales. So I've taken a look at what a few other brands in the space are doing, and I found these 2 ads that are working very well for them. I recorded this quick video breaking them down for you. Pop in a Loom link. So here you send them a Loom breaking down the ads or whatever relevant info you can provide them based on your service. The thing here is, since you'll be prospecting people in the same niche, You only need to record one loom and you can use it with all potential clients. Record it as if it was for one specific person. Just make sure not to mention their names so you can always use the same one. Now you can find good ads by searching on the Facebook ads library for some ads that have been running for a few weeks or months. And it shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to find them and record a quick 3-minute loom. Step number 6 is invite them to a meeting. Now, if you think those could work for you, I have a few angles in mind that we'd be able to quickly record and put them to test within a few days. Are you up to jump on a call so I can walk you through them? Now, you should also do the same invitation at the end of your loom video, by the way. And make sure you send each one of these a separate message if you're doing it on Instagram. It'll look more organic this way. And that's the framework. No need to overcomplicate things. Now, if you're wondering if this actually works in practice, here is a screenshot of our private community inside of Agency Navigator. And we have a wins channel where everyone shares their agency wins. Here you can see Phil, who signed his first client 9 days after starting reaching out to prospects. You can also see John, who made 1.5K profit 2 weeks after starting his outreach efforts. Then 6 days later, he posted again saying that he signed 3 clients in 3 days. Quoting him, "Perfect your outreach and the money will come rolling in." Anyways, after sending all these messages, what will usually happen is that 50% of people will not reply. And that's fine. You shouldn't focus on those 50%. Now, what you have to do is you have to break down how much time it takes to go through each step of the outreach phase. Now, you start with the first step, sourcing leads. So let's say you sourced a list of 60 people to reach out to, and it took you 2 hours to do that. That means that in total, it took you 2 minutes per profile. Then you consider the time you spent sending your messages to these prospects. Let's say it took you in total 4.5 hours to send all your messages. That means the average time per message sent was 3 minutes. You're now at 5 minutes spent per contacted person in total, considering both steps, right? Because 2 minutes of finding the profile plus 3 minutes of sending messages equals 5 minutes. Now you have to figure out how many messages you have to send to get a reply. Let's say that every 6 messages you send, you get 1 reply. That means your total time per reply is 30 minutes. Now, how many replies do you need in order to close a meeting? Let's say you need 8 replies. So in total, you need to invest 4 hours in order to get a meeting. Now, how many meetings do you have to take in order to close a client? Let's say you have to take 5 meetings to close 1 client. That means in total, you have to invest 20 hours to close your first paying client. And that is only 20 hours. How does that sound to you? Investing 20 hours in order to make $500 to $2,000 a month every single month. I think it's worth the effort, right? Now, all the numbers I used here are very realistic. But let's say that the first time you do it, you don't have any practice, so it ends up taking you double the amount of time, 40 hours. Now, if you commit to this and decide to get it done in 1 week time, that's 8 hours per day of work in 1 week without even having to work on the weekend. Now, if you decide to go all in and also work on the weekend just that week, it will take you a bit over 5.5 hours of work per day to get your first paying client. And that's what I suggest you to do because you'll get results a lot faster, by the way. Now, let's go even a step further. Let's say after you sign your first client, you dedicate 4 hours of your day to outreach and 3 hours of your day to service delivery. That's way more than you need for service delivery, by the way. Now, in case you don't have the 3 hours for service delivery because you work a full-time job or study full-time, I'll show you how to get this done for you by someone else in step 6. This way, you'll get this time down to only 2 hours a week. So for example, let's say 4 hours for outreach and 3 hours for service delivery in this example. Then you manage to get your outreach time down to 20 hours, as in the example I first gave. In 5 working days, you'll sign your second client. Do it for 1 more week, you sign your third client. Do it for 1 month consistently, and you already have 4 clients paying you anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a month. Because now you also have more experience and the confidence to charge more. Now, let's take the average between the two and say that your average retainer is now $2,000. If you work for 60 days on this and manage to sign a new client every 12 days at $2,000, you'll already be making $10,000 a month already. And that's extrapolating by more than double our original calculations of 5 days to close a client, only working 4 hours a day. This is an extremely simple and straightforward process, and this is where agency owners should be spending 70% of their time. And the best way to make sure that you're actually executing on this is to have an accountability group. This is a group of people who are walking on the same path as you and keeping you accountable every step of the process. Since there's probably not too many people around you who are trying to change their life and start a business like you are, you can feel kind of lonely at times. Kind of feels like you against the world almost. So having a good group of people in your corner, in your circle, that are on the same path and understand what you're trying to accomplish is so incredibly invaluable. So really just to show you that you're not alone, once you start doing outreach, I want you to screenshot your best outreach methods and then tag me on Instagram at Iman Gadzhi. And I'll be sharing them on my Instagram story throughout the week so that way you can see everything that everyone's achieving and really get you committed to making this work. Now, once you dial in your outreach, you're gonna start getting meetings. And in those meetings, you should come from the exact same frame that you did when you start reaching out to clients, which is someone who genuinely wants to help them. Now, make sure you do your homework. Before hopping on the call, study their website, their products, and basically everything they have available to offer. Compile a list of everything they're doing well, as well as opportunities for improvement. If you promised them that you'd have a few angles in mind for ads, actually go ahead and give that to them and explain why it would work well for their business. By doing that, you're going to create a lot of goodwill, and this will actually get their guards down because they'll see you as someone who's genuinely trying to help rather than someone who's trying to sell them something. And it'll show them that you understand what you're talking about, getting the prospect to see you as an authority and trustworthy figure. And most importantly, ask them questions. Figure out what their goals are and what their current struggles are. Pay attention to their answers and use that as ammo. Help diagnose their problem and then give them direction, which by the way should lead them to the service that you're offering. Now, the more digging that you do to really uncover their problems, the less objections that you're going to face later down the line. Now, you can go really deep in this one, and usually this part of the call is called the digging phase or discovery phase, and it's where most of the sales training available out there focuses on. Now, inside of Agency Navigator, we have a set of questions to ask here specifically for agency sales. But when first starting out, don't overthink it. Just keep it simple. Now, the best sales tactic I've learned when working with clients is just be honest. I take a radical transparency approach. And I've literally been on sales calls before where I tell them, look, I'm 50-50 on this. By the way, sorry for interrupting the video, but I really quickly just want to mention our online business Kickstarter giveaway because I'm actually giving away a MacBook Pro 16-inch, a MacBook Air, an iPad Pro, as well as 3 pairs of AirPods Pro. And I'm doing this for a few of the Remote Revolution participants. And just like everything we do at Gadzhi Agency, this isn't going to be your ordinary giveaway because we want to reward people who watched every single episode of the event and actually took action on it. So we decided for you to be eligible for the giveaway, you need to be worthy. Now, how do you prove that you're worthy? Well, we've actually put together a quiz based on the contents of the first 3 episodes of the Remote Revolution. These questions are going to be very in-depth and specific, so make sure you are taking notes throughout this entire event. And I'd even suggest re-watching each episode at least once. And that's because the first 3 episodes are all going to be taken down on Sunday, so you can never watch them again. Now, the quiz comes out on Friday the 15th, right after the 3rd episode launches. And you'll actually have until Monday the 18th to complete it, which is 2 hours before the 4th episode releases. Now, if you get a score of 70% or higher, you're eligible for the giveaway. And the winners will actually be announced live on my Instagram on the 19th of July. So make sure you're following me on Instagram so that way you know that you don't miss the announcement. And with all that being said, let's get back to the video. I literally tell the client, look, with most of our clients, I have a 99% conviction that I can make this work. But in this case, I'm 50-50 for this reason. You know, maybe they may have a product that hasn't been validated by the market yet. Maybe I think they might be in an oversaturated industry, you know, whatever it may be. And I literally tell the client and I go, so in this specific example, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer you a guarantee. This has a really powerful effect because it shows that you're just being honest, you're being transparent. I mean, look, this isn't the intention of it, but it does actually deploy sort of a reverse psychology effect where they start selling themselves. I've seen this so many times where a client then is like, no, like this will work, etc., etc. So if you're a person who's a little scared to be charging clients, $500, $1,000, $3,000 a month, if you offer them a money back guarantee, it's the best thing ever. It's a great tool to use because there's no risk on their side. And yeah, sure, maybe out of 10 clients, there might be 1, 2, maybe 3 where it just doesn't work out. You give them back to their money and you continue on, but it means that you're able to close a lot of clients. Now, you don't have to do the money back guarantee. I don't do it with every single client, but as I said, especially when you're first getting started, it can be a very good tool to use because it just makes the sale a no-brainer. Now, when it comes to pricing, even if your service is genuinely worth $7,000 a month to them, I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend starting at $1,000, $1,500 a month. And as you get more confidence, you'll start to work your way up. And the funny thing is you'll realize that when you're charging $8,000 a month and you're charging $1,500 a month, most of the time you're doing the exact same thing. It's basically what you believe you're worth that changes. But I will say that inside of Agency Navigator, we teach you some more advanced tactics on how to actually structure performance-based billing models, which is the easiest ways to double, triple, or even quadruple the size of your retainers. But at the beginning, you should avoid this route and just keep things simple, like I mentioned. Now, let's get into service delivery. And here's where things get really fun. There's 2 paths here. Either you can deliver the service yourself, or you can use what I call contractor arbitrage to have it all delivered for you. And the real perks of this business is you can decide, there's 2 different approaches. You can either be a lone wolf, a one-man band where, you're selling the clients and you're also delivering the services yourself. This is great for people who just like working on their own and, they just want to control everything. Or on the other hand, and I will say that I have a much bigger preference to this, you can act like a real business person and you can actually hire someone to deliver the services for you. And the real key here is you pay nothing out of pocket for it. And let me first cover how to actually get it delivered for you. Now, if you observe how traditional service-based businesses operate, all they do is hire someone for an X amount and then sell their time to clients for 2, 3, 5, even 10x what they pay the given employee. That is an extremely profitable business, but it comes with its own risk. What if you end up losing a few clients, but then you still have the same amount of employees on payroll? The employees will still get paid the same amount of money no matter how many clients the business has. So this can become pretty dangerous pretty fast. Because if a business is, let's say, making $20,000 a month and they have a payroll of $10,000 a month and then they lose half their clients, well, they still have to pay their employees the same amount, but now they're making no money at all. And this is why I started teaching something called contractor arbitrage. The beauty of this is rather than having to deal with the risks and headache of hiring someone full-time and dealing with fixed payroll and long-length employee contracts, instead what we do is we hire contractors on a per-service basis. That means that we're hiring someone at no risk because we're getting paid upfront from the clients as the agency, but then we're paying our contractor at the end of the month. The way it works is that basically you pay the contractor based on how many clients they're taking care of. So the more clients they take care of, the more they get paid. But if you lose a client, they also stop getting paid for that specific client. And the way that we teach you to structure this inside of Great Agency is that you as the agency always gets paid up front by your clients, and you always pay your contractors at the end of the month. This way, you'll never run into cash flow problems. And the real beauty of contractor arbitrage is that you can hire people who already have experience with what you're offering, meaning that you can actually deliver services that you don't even know how to deliver yourself. And here's another ninja hack. If you want to actually learn how to deliver those services, hire a contractor to deliver the services for your clients. And while they're delivering the services, because you guys are working together as an agency contractor relationship, ask them questions when they're reporting and they're filling in on, hey, here's how the client campaigns are going. Ask them questions about the service delivery. They'll actually end up serving a second function as a coach for you to actually show you the ropes. And that's exactly how I ended up learning Facebook ads. I moved from a content creation agency to running an advertising agency, and I hired a contractor, Danny, to deliver the services for my clients. And I learned from him, all while he was delivering the services to our clients at IG Media. And the craziest part of this all is that it's much cheaper to hire experienced, extremely experienced talent who speak impeccable English from countries like South Africa, New Zealand, Colombia, Brazil, Algeria, Indonesia, Philippines, than it is to hire someone who just graduated a marketing university in the US or Canada and has quite literally zero experience. Danny, for example, is from Colombia, and I've hired contractors from Brazil, South Africa, Algeria, Spain, and a few other countries, all who are top level at their craft. Now, the question I get the most is how much should you actually pay your contractors? Basically, you can work out different deals with them, but the way our students structure their deals with contractors, they pay them $250 to $1,000 per month per client. Then they charge these same clients anywhere from $1,500 up to $10,000 a month. And when Danny first started working with me, he was charging me $600 per month per client. And I was charging these same clients anywhere from $3,500 to upwards of $10,000 a month. And you can really work this out based on your client retainers and the amount of involvement and time it actually takes to deliver those services. Then the next obvious question is people say, well, why would they accept getting paid these amounts when they know how much you're charging clients? Well, the reason is quite simple. And this is really the beauty of the global economy that we live in these days. The reason is that if they were to work the same jobs in their countries, they would get paid 5 to 10 times less, usually because of the big discrepancy in exchange rates. So that is actually a lot of money to them. A contractor that you're paying $600 a month to deliver services for one client, and that you're then charging the client $1,800 a month and pocketing a $1,200 a month difference, that same contractor is getting $600 a month per client with you. Hopefully you end up signing 3-4 clients and they get to work from the comfort of their own home remotely. To make that same amount of money, they would have to go into the office every single day in their local country to get paid the same amount that you're paying them from 1 or maybe 2 clients. And usually the best contractors don't want to become entrepreneurs or business owners. They love their craft. They love ads. They love email marketing. They love editing. They love whatever service you're offering. They just want a simple life, which is do what they love and get paid for it. Now, if you don't know where to find these type of people, the best place is on Facebook groups related to the service you offer. You can just create a job post there and you get a bunch of applicants. You can also look on LinkedIn, Upwork, and other business-oriented social platforms. Inside of Agency Navigator, we cover all of this in detail, as well as give you specific groups you can reach out to and even specific scripts of what to say on your job posts. Now, you have my secret. The plan to go from $0 to $10,000 a month. Now, if you take this knowledge I gave you today and apply it and stick to it, there's no way you don't get results. Heck, it might even take you more than 40 hours to sign a client. It might even take you a few weeks. Who knows? Maybe even takes you 1 month or 2 months. But so what? I mean, what if it even takes you 3, 4, 5 months? What's the other option? Study in college for 4 or 5 years for something that you don't care about? Then go get a boring job that barely pays your rent and your utilities. So that way you can go to a job to pay for a home that you only get to spend 3, 4 hours a day in because you have to go to job to pay for the home that you only get to spend 3-4 hours in. Which, by the way, I know if you're still watching this point, you already know that's not the path forward. You're the sort of person who knows that you don't want to constantly wake up every day to an alarm bell groggy, reminding yourself that it's another day you have to go to a job that you hate. If you stick to this, it is impossible to fail. You only fail if you give up. And if you don't, you will get there. You will accomplish this. You know, I actually did a student interview probably a year and a half back, and it was probably one of my proudest student interviews I've ever done. Just to give you some context, at Great Agency, we've helped people go from delivering Uber Eats to making $30,000 a month in the space of 60 days, and then going on to even making $100,000 months. We've had students who were evicted from their apartments for not being able to pay the bills, to then going on to live in the most prestigious areas of their countries. We've had people signing 5 clients in a day. We've had multiple people reaching 7 figures with their agencies. We've had high school students succeeding, older people succeeding, guys succeeding, girls succeeding, people from North America, Europe, Asia, South America, Australia, India, Nepal, the list goes on. But even with all those success stories, my favorite success story to this day is a guy called Josh. For 18 months, Josh tried to sign his first client. Day in and day out he worked, and he kept going for 18 months. And that's what it took him to sign his first client. And he did it because he executed, he stuck to the plan, and he didn't give up. But here's the really beautiful part of the story. After spending 18 months to sign his first client, within 30 days, he was making $7,000 a month profit with his agency. Josh became a master of his own fate. And that's why it's so important to stick to the plan and execute, because it works. It's tested and a proven plan. And executing is the only way that you're going to become the master of your own fate. Someone who manages to match career timing with market timing. On the other hand, if you don't do it, you become a slave to your fears. Someone who's perpetually living in this nightmare where you wake up and repeat the same actions again and again and again, and nothing changes. Your 2019 looks the same as your 2022. Your 2022 looks the same as your 2025. And you live out your existence in this perpetual dreary motion. Because you know what I've never, ever seen? Someone who's worked on their agency day in, day out, stuck to the plan and executed, and done this for no longer than 24 months, who has not hit $10,000 a month. Let me repeat that. And by the way, I just gave you a success story that most people will be way too afraid to share. Like, yeah, you know, someone who learned from me, it took him a year and a half to execute. And I said, the reason I'm so proud of it is because it further validates and proves what I've seen, which is if you stick to this for 24 months, I have never, and I've been doing this a long time, ever seen someone who's making less than $10,000 a month profit if they stick to the plan for 24 months. So you either become a master of your own fate or keep being a slave to your fears. And you decide. Now, here's where I want to make it clear that 2 things will happen on this journey. The first is that there's going to be resistance. And the second one is that you'll have to renounce on important things. And it will be difficult. I faced a lot of resistance when I first started my agency back in 2016. It took me months to sign my first client. And do you know what happened once I did? I signed my first client for 95 pounds a week. I charged them weekly, not monthly. And I didn't want to charge them 100 pounds a week because I thought that sounded too expensive. So I charged them 95 pounds a week. 380 pounds a month. And by the way, for that, I did the video, editing, and posted 30 unique Instagram posts, 30 unique Facebook posts, as well as 4 YouTube videos a month, every single month for 380 pounds. And then do you know what happened after that? I went 7 months without signing a client. Yes, 7 months. And by the way, I was trying everything under the sun. And it took me 7 months to sign my second client. Now, once I signed my second client, within 30 days, I was making over $15,000 a month. And it got to a point where I actually needed to renounce something. I needed more time to invest in my agency, and I was still a full-time high school student. Now, some of you guys know my story, but basically grew up single mom, biological father was alcoholic, abusive, blah, 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 sad story. We see it all the time, whatever, is what it is. The point is, my mom bounced between government benefits, which for those of you guys who don't know is basically like same as welfare in America. We bounced between that. She was a receptionist at NHS hospital, which is basically free healthcare in the UK. So, you know, not exactly a private glamorous hospital. Or she was working minimum wage temporary summer jobs at Harrods, which is a big sort of department store in London. Fun side note, in the last 4 years, I've actually spent over $1 million there. And last year on her wardrobe, I spent close to $150,000 at that specific department store that she used to work minimum wage. And every summer, it actually happened 3 summers in a row. I vividly remember she would come home crying because that temporary summer job, they didn't give her a full-time position. And we needed that money so badly at that time. And the reason I tell you this is because the reason my mom went through all of this hell growing up was to give me a good education. But at some point, I knew it was holding me back. I was 17 years old. I was making $15,000 a month for my agency. and I knew I could take it big time. And I knew it'd tear my mom apart, but I knew back then it was what I needed to do. And I don't recommend this for any of you guys. Obviously, I had my specific situation, single mom, business, etc., etc. I ended up dropping out of school. And for me personally, it was the best decision I ever made. And the reason I tell you this is because you need to be all in here. If you're gonna half-ass it, if you're not gonna stick to the plan, you're better not even starting off, because I guarantee you it's not gonna work. Listen, on average, it takes our students 47 days to sign their first client. That's taking into consideration students that sign their first client in the first 5 days, or students like Josh that take 18 months. But even though it takes 47 days on average, that doesn't mean that it's effortless. I don't want this to be like every other YouTube video where the person makes it seem like, this is a fully passive automated system. You do have to put some work in. This business model requires work. Now, it doesn't require you to invest any upfront capital to get started, and it doesn't require you to have any previous business experience. And it is the easiest business to go from 0 to 10K a month, and that's a fact. But you have to be willing to work for it. In this life, nothing worth working for happens effortlessly. There will always be resistance. So remember, when you're prospecting, when you're trying to sign your first few clients, you'll face resistance. You'll take no's. But I want you to know that all a no is getting you closer to a yes. And if you talk to enough prospects, you're going to see that for every, let's say, 9 no's you get 1 yes. So remember, every time you get a no, you're not actually getting a no. What you're getting is 0.1 of a yes. That's another 10% of the way to getting a yes. Then another 10%, then another, then another. You just have to go through those until you collect a whole yes. All that's in between the space of where you are right now and where you want to be is just a few no's. You just go through a few of those and then you eventually get to the yes. So now I need you to get started and quit whatever is holding you back. I'm not saying quit your job. Once you start making enough money from the agency, then you can quit your job. What I'm saying is quit using you having a job as the reason why you can't start an agency. Quit using you being in school as an excuse why you can't start your agency. Just get started. Look, you now have the perfect beginner-friendly business model to get started. You now have the 6-step action plan to execute. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to use this plan to get to $10,000 a month, $50,000 a month, and even $100,000 a month with your agency. Yes, that's possible. And we have a few dozen people who have already done it inside of Gray Agency. But don't wait until that video comes around. Get started today. And by the way, don't forget to send me your best examples of outreach and tag me on Instagram. As I said, I'll be posting some of my favorite ones throughout the event. Let's all push each other to achieve success. Because remember, this is the remote revolution.